What's up, guys? Yeah, so today we gonna be back up here again, back at it on this very day, and we gonna be pretty much checking out and seeing what the White House has to say about what happened to Trump. So let's look into it, guys. Let's get it.
Fellow Americans, and we must stand together. We must stand together in the wake of an attempted assassination on the former President of the United States. Over the past several days, the President has been briefed regularly by key members of his Homeland Security team and senior law enforcement officials, and he has spoken directly to the American people. As President Biden has said, we are thankful the former president is not seriously injured, and President Biden, the First Lady, and the entire White House are keeping him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victim who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, and a hero who lost his life shielding his family. Our prayers are with Corey's family during this unimaginable time. The president spoke about an ongoing investigation, and as he said, we do not know the motive of the shooter yet. We don't know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support or if he communicated with anyone else. Law enforcement professionals are investigating those questions. And we urge that everyone avoid jumping to conclusions. Let the law enforcement professionals do their job. But as President Biden made clear, what we do know is that a former president was shot in a senseless act of violence and a fellow American was killed while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We must not go down this road in America. There's no place in America for this kind of violence ever. We cannot normalize this. Right now, the most important thing we can do is unite against this type of political violence and reject it. That's what the president is going to focus on. As he said last night, while unity is the most elusive of goals right now, nothing is more important than standing together. Now, joining me today to answer your questions is Secretary Mayorkas. Normally would have done a gaggle because the president would have been on the road, but we wanted to make sure that we did this briefing, get it on camera briefing, and also have the secretary here to take any of your questions. So he has been alongside the president and uh, and um, and the president's entire team as they work to get the answers for the American people. Secretary Mayorkas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Corinne. Good afternoon. At the very outset, I want to echo what President Biden said last night. Our entire administration is grateful that former President Trump is okay. Our hearts and prayers are with the family of Corey Comprador. We pray for the full and swift recovery of those who were injured on Saturday. We are thankful for the heroic agents of the United States Secret Service who so quickly and bravely responded to the threat at Saturday's campaign event. We unequivocally condemn, in the strongest possible terms, the violence our nation witnessed that day. Such acts are unacceptable in our country and in our democracy. Both President Biden and former President Trump are constantly the subject of threats. We are in a heightened and very dynamic threat environment. The United States Secret Service, we, including the FBI and our other partners across the federal government, take the threats very seriously and adjust security measures as warranted. Maintaining the safety and security of the president, the former president, and their campaign events is one of our most vital priorities. In light of this weekend's events, the president has directed me to work with the Secret Service to provide protection to Robert Kennedy Jr. Both prior to and after the events of this past weekend, the Secret Service enhanced former President Trump's protection based on the evolving nature of threats to the former president and his imminent shift from presumptive nominee to nominee. This includes enhancements related to securing the former president during the Republican National Convention this week. I cannot discuss specifics of the protection or the enhancements made, as they involve sensitive tactics and procedures. I can say, however, that personnel and other protective resources, technology, and capabilities have been added. At the RNC, we have steadily increased implementation of significant physical and technical enhancements at every protective venue in support of protectees, including miles of anti-scale fencing, screening technology, and tactical support. We are also leveraging strong relationships across the law enforcement community, including agents and officers from Homeland Security Investigations, the Transportation Security Administration, and state and local law enforcement agencies, all of whom have been deployed at the convention. Since the attempted assassination of former President Trump, we across the government are focused with urgency to understand how it happened. At President Biden's direction, an independent review of the incident will be conducted, one that will examine the Secret Services and other law enforcement actions before, during, and after the shooting to identify the immediate and longer-term corrective actions required to ensure that the no-fail mission of protecting national leaders is most effectively met. The men and women of the Secret Service have one of the most solemn and difficult jobs in government. Their work involves tremendous sacrifice, risk, and bravery. We saw those qualities in action on the stage at this past Saturday's event. With respect to the tragic event of Saturday, the FBI is leading the criminal investigation, which is ongoing. An independent review will be conducted to understand the facts regarding protection of the event and make findings and recommendations accordingly. I will therefore not be able to comment on the facts subject to investigation and review at this time. With that, I will take your questions.
Secretary, on that independent review, who will lead that independent review? What is the timeline for how long it will take to understand the failings that happened on Saturday? And will those findings be made public, or at least a summary of those findings be made public?
We are indeed in the process of selecting who will lead the independent review. The findings indeed will be made public. It's very important that we achieve transparency so that the American people have confidence in the work of the review and in its findings and recommendations. And we need to move with swiftness and urgency because this is a security imperative.
Secretary, on that, does the president have confidence in the Secret Service director after Saturday's failures?
I have 100% confidence in the director of the United States Secret Service. I have 100% confidence in the United States Secret Service. And what you saw on stage on Saturday with respect to individuals putting their own lives at risk for the protection of another is exactly what the American public should see every single day. It is what I indeed do.
Thank you, Secretary. Is the Secret Service stretched too thin?
The Secret Service in times like this calls upon other resources and capabilities to handle a campaign of this magnitude. This has been the case each and every presidential campaign. We draw upon resources not only across the federal government, but with state and local law enforcement. And I do intend to speak with members of the Hill with respect to the resources that we need.
A few House Republicans have suggested that this was an inside job, that this administration or the Secret Service wanted Donald Trump to get shot. There are conspiracy theories proliferating online. How do you feel? How does the rank and file feel when they hear that?
So let me just say this. First of all, that is preposterous, and it is also dangerous to propagate rumors that are so unequivocally false and provocative. And as the president so powerfully said to the entire nation, we have to tamp down the rhetoric in this country. The rhetoric is creates a threat environment that really is quite dynamic and evolving.
Mr. Secretary, what concerns you about the fact there were witnesses who had identified a gunman on the building? There was local law enforcement assigned to that building, and of course, the Secret Service having the overall responsibility. Where do you think a breakdown may have occurred? Is it because you had to rely on local law enforcement, maybe not having the kind of synergy you might need? Where do you see the breakdown with witnesses saying there's a gunman and action not happening fast enough?
There have been statements by many people with respect to what did and did not occur. We're going to let the investigation and the review deliver the factual findings, and will act upon those. We rely upon local law enforcement and other assets, resources, and capabilities every day. And we are incredibly proud to do so, and we're incredibly proud of the courageous law enforcement officers upon whom we rely.
In the time that you've been here, the former president has selected J.D. Vance. What can you tell us about the security for the running mate?
So the United States Secret Service, when a selection is made, will provide the appropriate level of security.
In a heightened threat environment, what's the underlying reason for that? What can you tell us more about that?
So this is something that both Director Wray of the FBI and I have communicated publicly, both in hearings and outside the hearing context. The threat landscape is very dynamic, both domestically, with the rise of domestic violent extremism.
Is that, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm gonna believe that this partially was staged. This partially was staged, and I do believe that to be true. But let's continue.
The rhetoric to which one reporter referred only contributes to that. And of course, we have seen the foreign threat environment increase as well.
Jen, thank you. And you just said that you have 100% confidence in the Secret Service. Does the president share that confidence? Have you talked to him about it?
I will not speak for the president, but I know as a protectee, he's incredibly.
I'll speak to that. Thank you. Can you speak to any enhancements to the president's security for his trip to Las Vegas this week and other locations? I mean, how has that changed, if it's changed at all? And I have a second question as well.
So I'm not in a position to share particulars because we do not disclose tactics, techniques, and procedures. But let me say that adjustments have been made to the former president's detail, to the current president's detail, as well as to the vice president's detail.
Social media companies, I mean, terms like deep state have been one of the most viral terms over the weekend on platforms like X, on Meta. Has there been any outreach to these companies from administration officials to try and stop the disinformation or quell it in any way?
Well, the rhetoric that we hear, we are very mindful of the First Amendment right. That is one of the underpinnings of this country. And so the balance between respecting the First Amendment and actually rhetoric that can be addressed by these social media companies is something that we deal with on an ongoing basis.
Much law enforcement officials tell ABC News that the building where the shooter was on the roof was actually the staging area for the local police tactical team who's watching over the crowd. I understand you can't comment, you have an independent review, but why would the Secret Service not be tasked with overseeing that building with a direct line of sight at the former president?
So once again, I will not comment on specific facts or asserted facts with respect to the subject of the independent investigation. Both the review and the FBI's criminal investigation. But remember something, that local law enforcement with whom we work all across the country, including, for example, at national security special events such as the NATO summit that concluded successfully, that is something that we do all the time. It's a very well-defined protocol and regime.
Was the local law enforcement in direct communication in real time with the Secret Service, or was there some sort of breakdown there?
Again, I'm not in a position to speak of particular facts of what did and did not occur on Saturday.
Mr. Secretary, would the president dismiss his Secret Service director if this investigation returns findings of failures by that agency that could have been prevented?
I am not in a position to speculate, nor should I.
Is it that we are now about 48 hours out from this, just shy of that, and we still don't have any information on a motive? Is it that the investigators are withholding any information out of sensitivity to this heightened threat environment that you mentioned, or the political events that are happening right now?
So remember something, that the assailant is deceased. He was shot and killed by the United States Secret Service. The ability to identify a motive is something that, in this situation, is a result of extensive and intensive investigation. And so it is, in fact, only 48 hours after the tragic events of Saturday. And you will recall, I think, in the very, very tragic shooting in Las Vegas quite a number of years ago, because of the fact that the assailant then was shot and killed, a motive was not identified at all.
Motive there, Mr. Secretary. Are you suggesting
Correct.
that we might never find one?
I'm not suggesting anything. I just cited that as an example of the difficulty in identifying a motive.
Sir, at least 8 Republican lawmakers have blamed President Biden for this. An additional 21 blamed Democrats, the left, and the media critical of Trump for driving the rhetoric that led to this outcome. How does the White House respond to that blame coming from some Republican lawmakers?
I will let Corinne answer that, but I think the president's comments with respect to the rhetoric that we need to tamp down in this country is
White House
responsive.
Mr. Secretary, you said that there was a failure here. There's a criminal investigation up and running. What is taking time for the independent investigation to be up and running? And it didn't sound like you were giving a timeline of when that will occur.
We're going to commence the independent review as quickly as possible. We are going to be reaching out very, very shortly to individuals who will hopefully lead that independent review, and I will communicate to those leaders the need for swiftness of action in light of the fact that we are dealing with a security protocol.
But if that's the case, is this like days, weeks? What is your sense of timing of when this review will be up and running, given the security?
Days.
To follow up on Matt's question, when you say an independent review, you're reaching out to people who believe that. Are you talking about people outside of government? Are you committed to somebody who does not work for you or for President Biden to lead this review?
I am committed to going externally of the department and externally of the government, so that no question of its independence can be raised.
Thanks, Kareem. Secretary, I understand.
If I may, Peter. It's very important that this independent review have the confidence of the people.
Secretary, can you give us any details at all about what areas this review will be looking at in terms of the failures that happened on Saturday?
I would rather not until this review is underway.
Just quickly, if I may, Secretary, can you fill out any more of the timeline of what local law enforcement knew or didn't know before the shooting? This is in reference to this interview with an individual who said that he saw somebody hauling up the building, and we're still a little unclear on the timeline of how that information was communicated.
I hate to end this session on an answer on a question that I cannot answer, and so perhaps Corinne will reach out for another question, because as I mentioned before, I cannot speak to what did and did not occur. The facts are the subject of an independent review, or will be, and also a criminal investigation is underway.
Okay, is there any progress on cracking into the suspect's cell phone?
Same answer.
So what do you tell them?
No.
Thank you for coming to this briefing. You said that you have 100% confidence in the Secret Service. Do you have 100% confidence in Director Cheadle specifically?
Yes.
And Mr. Secretary, since Saturday, has anyone been reassigned or removed from Donald Trump's security detail?
I don't have knowledge of that. I do not believe so.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Is the U.S. Secret Service, they're responsible for, of course, protecting a wide variety of events. Are they considering changes to the type of outdoor events that will be coming up in the next 4 months of campaigning for candidates on both sides?
We are constantly, the Secret Service and the entire community is constantly assessing the threat environment, the threat landscape, and making adjustments accordingly. And so that is a factor in our assessment of the landscape.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, will you tell Americans who may feel nervous about going to political rallies?
Okay, thank you so much, Secretary. Appreciate it. I just have one more thing and then we'll continue. So I want to take a minute to thank Kelly O'Donnell, your outgoing president of the White House Correspondents Association. Kelly, the past year has presented no shortage of news, opportunities, and challenges. You've been a great partner day to day here at the White House, and we've closely worked together on major events, minor logistics, and travel, both domestic and foreign. I want this room and the many members of the WHCA to know that you have had a trusted ally, friend, and leader in Kelly O. And you have always advocated heartedly on behalf of your fellow journalists, and we are grateful for your service, and we are relieved you will still be on the beat here at the White House and in the briefing room. It has been a joy, and I've had the opportunity to know you for some time, even before being at the White House, and I really appreciated more personally your guidance, your mentorship in tough times. And so thank you so much, Kelly. And we are also looking forward to working closely with Eugene Daniels, the new president of WHCA, and we congratulate him as well. It has been a joy, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, Zeke, let's go.
On Jay's question there, does the president have confidence in the director of the Secret Service?
So a couple of things, yes. So the answer is yes, but I do want to say the director is working hard to examine what happened and to ensure protectees have needed security. And she is committed to cooperate fully with the independent review that the president obviously announced and directed to move forward with just a day or so ago. Everything is moving so quickly. The men and women at the Secret Service have a hard job. As you heard the Secretary mention, they work tirelessly every day to protect the president, former presidents, and other people. Their mission is critical, and we need all hands on deck in this moment. Right now, we are focused on getting all the facts so we can get to the bottom of this, of what happened. It is important for the American people to know what happened. That's why the president directed an independent review, direct the independent review. That's what the president asked for. Direct the Secret Service
To be honest with you, the way that the situation happened, in my eyes, it looks like an inside job. It literally does. It looks like an inside job. How do you have a military grade weapon in your hand? You got eyesight on your target, and the first shot that you take is you miss? Nah, he missed that shot on purpose. The guy that was supposed to be spotting him missed that shot on purpose. Ain't no way in the hell you can sit there with a military grade weapon and the scope that they had on that bad boy is about this doggone big. This freaking big. Big as I don't know what. And that same rifle that he had can shoot over 100 yards. Military authorized. If you look in the doggone video, that rifle he was using can 100% shoot well over 100 yards. Well over 100 yards. And they say the shooter was 150 yards away from the rally. How do you miss that first shot? How do you miss that first shot? The rifle he got, you can't even use regular bullets.
To provide Donald Trump and all other protectees the resources needed to ensure safety and order the Secret Service to review all security measures for the Republican Convention, which is what you've heard directly from the Secret Service speak to in the past 24 hours or so. But yes, he has confidence.
Does he have confidence in Secretary Mayorkas, obviously, since
Yes.
And does the president have plans, or has he spoken with the family of the man who was killed at the rally?
So you heard me at the top, and you heard the president speak in his Oval Address, and one time before that, obviously, and he gave a heartfelt condolences to Corey's family, and the families obviously who were affected by the horrific shooting on Saturday. And so the president understands loss, obviously, as you all know. He understands what it means to lose someone that you love. Our condolences, our prayers go out to Corey's family. I don't have anything else to add. We want to be really, really mindful and for their privacy, protect and respect their privacy. I just don't have anything else to add to that.
The president last night said it's time for everyone in the political space to tone it down, to cool the political rhetoric. Does the president regret anything that he has said in the course of this campaign about his Republican rival or anybody else in the political space? Does he plan to adjust his rhetoric, or is it just a call for other people to make changes?
So I want to just be very clear, and you know this. I've been asked about anytime there's violence, sadly, that comes up across the country. The president has always spoken out forcefully against violence, always. Political violence has no place in America. You've heard the president say this. He repeated his thoughts in the Oval Address last night. He repeated his thoughts multiple times before then, and obviously throughout his presidency, throughout his entire career. We want to make sure that we are not politicizing this at this moment. It is not a time to do that.
But American people are known to use political violence to even gain political power in the first place. So that's as simple as that.
To make sure that we bring Americans together. When you think about why the president is uniting this country. And he also said that it is okay to have disagreements on agendas. It is okay to have disagreements on character or record, but we cannot have violence in this country, and that is something that he's going to continue to be very, very clear about.
Does he or does he not regret anything that he has said about former President Trump or any of the other presidents?
What I will say is the president has forcefully spoken out against violence. That is something that he has done over and over again, and he believes that he feels strongly about the stakes of this campaign. He feels very, very strongly about that. He wants to bring the temperature down. He wants to lower the temperature. It is important that we do that, and it is a moment that we come together. And that is what this president is all about. And he wants to continue to work on uniting this country. That's what he wants to focus on.
Follow up on that. Just last week in Michigan, President Biden called Trump a threat to this nation. Should we expect that he will not be calling out Trump with that kind of rhetoric going forward?
So what I will say is that it is important, right? We believe it's important to continue to forcefully speak against any type of political violence. That is what the president believes.
Yeah.
And we do not want to politicize this moment. Politicizing this moment is unacceptable. We believe, and the president believed, you heard from him in a very clear statement last night about the importance of uniting this country, the importance of continuing to do so, and that we cannot tear America apart to score political points. We cannot do that. And so we don't want to politicize this moment. We want to unite.
To be honest with you guys, I think this shit was pretty much an inside job, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy that I've actually lived to actually see an assassination attempt on the president. That's crazy. Because because the last presidential assassination attempt happened before I was even born. So to see this right now, it's like, wow. This may not be new to some people, but it's history for others. You know? But other than that, this is the end of the show, guys. Like I said before, I feel like this is the inside job. As always, you know. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and we out.